The sheriff's deputy stood on my porch, one hand hovering near his holster, eyeing my teenage son like he was a fugitive caught red-handed. My boy, all of 17, held a bag of wild raspberries in one hand and my old fishing rod in the other, barefoot and bewildered. The deputy didn't look at me as I pulled into the driveway of my cabin, nestled in the pines of Blue Ridge, Tennessee. She says he broke in, the deputy said, nodding toward the neighbor's yard, where Linda stood behind her pristine picket fence, arms crossed, looking like she'd just caught a thief in her rose garden. I stepped out of my truck, closing the door with a slow, deliberate push. I'd just come from the county courthouse, still in jeans and a flannel, but the weight of my gavel lingered in my mind. "That's my son, Ethan," I said, voice steady. "He's here to check the cabin and pick berries for his mom." The deputy blinked, caught off guard. Linda, though, didn't flinch. "This property's under HOA rules," she snapped from her yard. "No visitors without my approval." I turned, locking eyes with her. "Ma'am," I said, "you just called the cops on a judge." The air shifted. Linda's smug grin faltered, like a light bulb flickering before it dies. She didn't know Minute in casual clothes, not as the guy who'd built this cabin with my own hands 30 years ago, back when this road was just dirt and the HOA was a pipe dream of bored retirees. Ethan had driven up that morning to drop off groceries and make sure the power was on. He barely stepped onto the porch when Linda, ever the neighborhood watchdog, had the sheriff on speed dial, claiming he was a trespasser. I asked the deputy if he saw any signs of a break-in. He shrugged. "Nope." "Anything suspicious about a kid with berries and a fishing rod?" "Nope." But in Linda's world, a teenager minding his own business was a threat to her carefully curated order. I sent Ethan inside, feeling Linda's glare follow him like a hawk tracking prey. "That's not your land," she barked. "It's community property." I smiled. "Not according to the deed in my truck." The deputy raised an eyebrow. "You carry your deed around?" I nodded. "I carry a lot of things, like the fact that I bought this road in 2003, before your HOA even existed." Linda wasn't done. She demanded the deputy cite Ethan for trespassing, citing her precious bylaws. "You wrote those bylaws, Linda," I said calmly. "They don't apply to my land." Her face reddened, and she stormed off, slamming her red front door. The deputy mumbled about paperwork and left, tires crunching on the gravel. I stood there, wondering how far this woman would push it. The next morning, a manila envelope was taped to my gate, containing a $2,000 fine for unauthorized visitor access and a threat to revoke my community privileges. I laughed. My cabin sat on 3 parcels, none under HOA control, a fact Linda conveniently ignored. But this wasn't just funny, it was a declaration of war. I dug into the HOA charter, which excluded my land due to a boundary oversight they'd never fixed. Then I found gold. Public records from past HOA meetings where Linda had pushed a rule claiming visual authority over anything she could see from the road. She'd invented a law to justify her power trip. At the next HOA meeting, I signed in as Tom H. and sat quietly as Linda ranted about trespassers ruining our mountain. After 6 minutes, I raised my hand. "Is there any legal precedent for your rules?" She scoffed. "This is an HOA, not a courtroom." I nodded. "So, if I told you I've been a judge in this county for 15 years, would that change anything?" The room froze. One board member let out a nervous, "Oh crap." I laid out my evidence, parcel maps, charter exclusions, and a photo of Ethan on my porch. Linda's face went pale. I didn't yell. I didn't need to. The truth was my weapon. The board chair, a jittery guy named Carl, asked if I'd press charges. "Not yet," I said. "But if another fake fine shows up, we'll talk civil suits and criminal misrepresentation." That night, Ethan asked if he could go fishing again. "Go for it," I said. "Just wave to Linda." He did, with both hands. She didn't wave back. But Linda wasn't done. She filed a sheriff's report claiming I'd impersonated a judge to intimidate her. I laughed and told the deputy to check the courthouse website, where my name sat atop the judge list. By week's end, she'd hired a lawyer, sending a certified letter with a $2,175 fine, a cease and desist, and a shoddily written community access addendum. She thought she could win. She was wrong. I attended the next HOA emergency meeting, held in the community clubhouse, a log building smelling of coffee and old carpet. Linda, in a cardigan with too many buttons, sneered as I walked in. "You again," she said. "This isn't a courtroom." I took a seat. "Good. I'm here to clarify your fake rules." She handed out her new addendum, demanding 72-hour visitor registration. I stood. Was this voted on? Filed with the county? Or just printed at Staples? Laughter rippled through the room. Linda snapped, "We set our own rules." I held up my deed. Not on my land. Or the Wilsons. Or the Fergusons. And by the way, I own the access road you claim is yours. The room turned. Residents questioned her. "What about my guests?" one asked. "Or deliveries?" another added. Linda's control slipped. She accused me of intimidation, but the crowd wasn't buying it. Carl suggested pausing her rules. Linda stormed out, humiliated. The real showdown came in court. I recused myself to avoid bias claims and filed a civil suit against Linda and the HOA for fraud, misrepresentation, and property tampering. Placed survey markers on my land. In courtroom 4, with Judge Margaret presiding, I presented my case: fake documents, unauthorized markers, and Linda's call to a county surveyor asking for a favor to redraw boundaries. Linda, representing herself, waved a pink folder, claiming I was abusing my judge status. Her evidence? Nothing. She crumbled under questioning, admitting she'd acted for the community. Judge Margaret wasn't impressed. The law doesn't bend for your intentions. The ruling was swift: $5,000 penalty, injunction against HOA interference, and a public retraction. Linda left, defeated. 3 days later, her resignation letter appeared on the clubhouse door, blaming judicial bullying and warning of chaos. No one cared. But the story didn't end there. The neighborhood rallied, electing Ethan as a youth liaison to rebuild trust. He held porch chats, handed out flyers like "Ask before you fence," and somehow, the community softened. Passive-aggressive signs vanished. Even Linda's "Slow down" banner came down. She stayed in her cabin, peeking through blinds, her power gone. Then came her final act. A state ethics complaint accused me of abusing my judicial role. I responded with court records and HOA minutes, and the board dismissed it as baseless. Later, a drone buzzed my yard, a mailbox was smashed, and a chicken was dumped in my trash. A camera caught Linda tossing paper on my property at 2 a.m. The sheriff warned her, one more false move, and she'd face charges. By winter, the mountain was calm. Ethan, inspired, applied to a pre-law program, citing HOA trauma. At a county meeting, neighbors nominated him for a youth advisory role, praising his summer stint. Linda faded, her credibility shot. One snowy evening, Carl, the new HOA secretary, brought cookies to our cabin. "You saved us," he said. I shook my head. "You all did. You stopped listening to her." The cabin felt like home again, free of fines and drama. Ethan got a new fishing rod, engraved with HOA survivor. We laughed, knowing we'd won not just against Linda, but against the kind of petty tyranny that thrives on fear. The lake sparkled under the snow, and the mountain was ours. What do you think? Have you ever faced a bully like Linda, or seen injustice in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially on how we handle power and fairness in our daily lives. Let's hear your take.